Hello, 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 folks. Welcome back to Holding Space. Melinda Zappone. We are snowed in this MLK weekend. So here I am with my glasses on. Because what's the point of popping in contacts? And I can see better with my glasses anyway. And I am so glad to see all of you or feel all of you out there. We are also now on Enya. Everyone needs you always on YouTube and on Spotify. And I'm so excited to be authentically, really finally offering this therapy intensive experience that we'll learn about today. But as always, I kind of try to embody the healing journey. Although I am a professional, very certified and trained in providing the journey, I'm on it many times. And that is my biggest expertise. So we're going to jump right in today, guys, and talk about fear is a lap pool in your own backyard. And basically, I'm talking about being afraid of rejection, of not having enough resources, of pain or backsliding, embarrassing mistakes, failing, losing money or yourself. And your purpose is at risk. Your authenticity is in crisis if we're not treating fear like a lap pool in your own backyard. I know you're waiting to hear about what this metaphor means. Well, if you're like me, by the time I was in my 20s, I had already lived through several rock bottom moments. This is why when I bought my first brand new car, myself in my late 20s, the kind driven only by one owner, me, I carried a very specific belief. You must keep this scratch free and spotless. Looking back, I realized that car was a metaphor. I hoped that, like the car, my new non rock bottom self would remain unscathed if I was careful enough to somehow, through the upkeep of this car, and if I kept everything clean, controlled, and perfectly managed, then maybe I would be a good owner of my own life. Maybe the car would reflect my value or somehow my goodness. Maybe it is more typical of men, but this car was a metaphor for my approach to life, but I didn't know it at the time. I wanted my car, my body, my approach to everything to be clean, spotless, and scratch resistant. We carry so many subconscious messages from the memories we repress, and this one was broadcasting loudly beneath my 20-something shell. I feared I had already damaged myself. I was terrified of continuing forward without finding a way to appear clean, good, efficient, untouched by the past. I wanted to be a person who never got scratched, bruised, or broken ever again. And beneath that fear lived a deeper suspicion that although many people had entered my story, actors and actresses with their own scripts, I was the one to blame for the pain. So I learned to suppress emotions like fear only to watch them reappear. We all suppress fear that returns as behaviors. Perfectionism, avoidance, intellectualizing, apologizing, people-pleasing, compulsive exercise, binging, overfunctioning, caretaking, procrastinating, rushing, shrinking, peacekeeping, overworking, managing, smoothing things over, not following through, forgetting, arguing, assuming the worst, numbing out. It's endless when we are inside of it. We have to keep cycling through the behaviors to keep down the fears we have. There is no skill to this way of living. It is survival. Accomplishing this or that may occur, but fear fuels it all. It's not grit, it's shit. There may be educational, intellectual achievement, but where we gain points in IQ, we lose on EQ, and the emotional intelligence for fear is lost. A really great quote by Alex Hormozy I have to share here. Fear is a mile wide and an inch deep. And so fear has to be exercised. This is what I'm learning now. Living in fear is not exercising it. It is constant swimming like a survivor, not an athlete with purpose. Swimming in this fear suppression ocean is the real risk. Beyond the fear of repeating any past pain, trauma, mistake, or loss is the reality that we suffer our own thinking. In reality, moving toward what frightens us, which is our capacity to love and work at things we don't know the outcome to, takes practice. Maybe what we want comes With the fear, there is no support or resources for it. However, it would be wonderfully secure to exercise that thought out through self-inquiry. This is a secure exercise. You as the questioner and questioning, is it true? Is a lap pool in a pool of your own construction, and it gets skilled over time. The thought that there is no support to become who you want to be is all scratched up with flaws. It can't be true. It's true to the thinker, but what about the questioning part of you? Can you exercise this version of you? Is it true that there is no support 100% across the board? I tried this on myself and found I was thinking about a few very specific areas where I felt I had no support. I saw no support in these areas of my life, so I kept focusing on getting it from them, not being fruitful and seesawing between that. It was either me or in people or systems, and I suffered. Then I found my inquiring self. I signed up for a supportive program to help me think about resourcing ideas I had. This supported me, and I began seeing the areas for what they were, not the right source of support for what I wanted, but I was lying to myself when I thought there was nothing supporting me. Self-inquiry, often called the work, is practically guaranteed, like any exercise, not to be the actual ocean and to be a lap pool for establishing stamina. Things outside of our fearful interpretations are rarely actual oceans. Our thinking and behaving is the ocean. So I'm asking myself, what if I can master my stamina for fear? What if I can improve my capacity for it? This doesn't mean you triumph over fear, but I suspect you establish the stamina for it, which is mastery. So what if fear is a lap pool in your own backyard? What if we are all millionaires with the capacity to pour some concrete and construct that exercise pool right in your own property? The property of you, heart, mind, body, and soul. So healing from these patterns, well, healing begins when we organize that these patterns, perfectionism, people-pleasing, avoidance, overfunctioning, to name a few, are not flaws in our character. They are adaptations. They are evidence of how hard we work to survive with the tools we had at the time. Every scratch avoidant behavior once served a purpose to keep us safe, accepted, or in control when we felt anything but. But what protected us then constrains us now. Healing is the process of gently separating who we were from who we are capable of becoming. It asks us to stop managing ourselves like an object that must stay pristine and instead learn to relate to ourselves like a living being, one that bruises, grows, softens, and renews. Sniffle, sniffle. To heal these patterns, we must first understand them in the context of the phases of healing from the toolbox approach, and highlighted in my new book and now therapy intensive in courses. I'd be honored to have you take the free poll as these programs prepare for launching. But let's consider healing in phases. Narrative healing. This is where we begin telling the truth about ourselves, not the polished public stories, but the private ones we've hidden or edited. Here, we learn to name our patterns without shame and understand the origins of our fears. We explore the beliefs that quietly govern our behavior. If I'm not perfect, I'll be rejected. If I slow down, everything will fall apart. If I'm honest about my needs, I'll lose someone I love. Naming these stories doesn't break us, it liberates us. The timeline of our experiences cannot often be told in the traditional way. Here, we reveal it to ourselves to see the messages rather than attempt to talk about them logically. And just as a side note, those polls and the information about the toolbox approach, the phases of healing, the intensives, they're all in the Substack content linked inside these articles. They're in the show notes on Enya and on Spotify. Now, number 2, reprocessing healing. What it could look like is discovering that patterns don't live only in the mind, they live in the body. Fear becomes muscle tension. Shame becomes collapsed posture. Hypervigilance becomes short breaths and racing thoughts. In this phase, we teach the body what safety feels like again. We release stored impulses. We update the nervous system. We learn that fear can rise and fall like a wave without taking us under. Here, the utilization of reprocessing assumes we have missed something, as a necessary part of our survival, not a flaw, mistake, weakness, or deficiency on our part. I recently had to purchase a new phone. Despite the data transfer, some of the apps were not working. Many needed a totally reconfigured login process. They had forgotten parts of the old user I had been. They needed me to refresh, and I had to adapt to the changes. It was going to be overall the same experience, but also different. Reprocessing is necessary for many data holding devices, and the human body is no different. Things that have been programmed a certain way will malfunction, and we need to go deep into the process we used to find functional and repair this process, hence reprocessing. For me, my body woke up in need of movement ever since it began experiencing trauma resurfacing in my 20s. I had to reprocess that time period to see it. 20 years at least of fighting somatic memories until it had replaced compulsive exercise with somatically attuned one. And I don't want you guys to be waiting 20 years. Now, there's still urgency, but not to suppress, repress, and dissociate, but to move into the day gently. My body remembers its frailty, the duplicity of trusting itself and others, but it reprocessed it and created discernment. It knows how to start the day with truth now. I have to correct that typo. I'm sorry, guys. Created. It knows how to start the day with truth. And here, the body learns a new truth. I can survive the scratch. I can survive my own honesty. Now, what relational healing can look like is once the story is understood and the body begins to soften, we start practicing new ways of being with others. This phase teaches us boundaries, self-attunement, honest expression, and compassionate connection. It's actually when I started creating this blog, Relational Healing, reaching out to others that I didn't quite know, but I knew somehow would be a safe space for me. We learn to stay present with ourselves while staying connected to someone else, a skill many of us never learned growing up. Here we discover that we don't have to perform goodness, manage every outcome, or disappear to belong. Healing these patterns is not about erasing the past. It's about expanding who we are and who we are allowed to be now. We stop fearing scratches because we begin to realize the goal was never to stay spotless. The goal was always to become whole. How the toolbox approach holds these patterns with precision and compassion is, well, let's just say the toolbox approach was created because healing is not guesswork and you cannot flip through it, scroll for it, or stumble upon it. It's also not about willpower or forcing changes despite how talented the motivational speakers of the day may be at their inspirational messages. Healing is a process with structure, rhythm, and predictable emotional movements, just like the psyche itself. The psyche is the entire human mind, the subconscious, habits, recent memories, unconscious, deeper traumas out of our awareness, and the conscious. Conscious motivation is about 5% of what we do. The psyche encompasses our thoughts, emotions, memories, and drives our behavior. So this is where healing must occur in phases. That's why I invented the toolbox approach, guys. It's not like I invented healing, but I feel like this is a way that I finally became patient with phases of healing in an organized way. Each phase, narrative healing, reprocessing healing, and relational healing, requires different skills, different nervous system support, and different forms of self-understanding. When people don't know the phase they're in, they often try to use the wrong tools at the wrong time, which leaves them feeling stuck, ashamed, or broken. The toolbox approach makes the healing journey visible. It shows you what phase you're in, why you're feeling what you're feeling, which tools work in that phase and which ones don't, when to slow down and when to lean in, how to move safely and confidently from one phase to the next. Instead of trying to stay scratch-free, the approach teaches you how to meet life's scratches with understanding, not fear, awareness, not collapse. That's clarity, and that's what differentiates survival patterns from healing tools. So I'm going to offer a bonus today, guys, exercising somatic work, the missing link in releasing old patterns, which, again, you would get in all of the phases in the therapy intensives. Patterns that relate to fear suppression we are trying to exercise out of our systems, like perfectionism, avoidance, numbing, people-pleasing, and overfunctioning, don't resolve through insight alone. You can understand a pattern and still repeat it. This is because the body carries a memory of threat even after the threat is gone. Somatic work bridges this gap. In the toolbox approach, somatic practices are woven through each phase. In narrative healing, somatic awareness helps you notice how your body responds to certain memories or beliefs. You learn to sense the tightening, bracing, shrinking, or overactivating before your mind rushes in to fix or deny. In reprocessing healing, the nervous system is guided into completing stress cycles it never had the chance to finish. You learn to release stored activation, move emotions through the body, and create safety from the inside out. In relational healing, somatic grounding helps you stay present with yourself while staying connected to another person. This is where new relational patterns are formed, safe boundaries, honest communication, emotional presence, self-attunement. Often this starts with a therapist or a healing community that can be found in intensives, workshops, or a healthy movement and community. Some experience it in places like writing groups, hiding groups, book clubs, or volunteering. Family may seem like the place to start, but often the somatic work tells us that trust has to be built on fresh connections before it is tried out there with family. Somatic work teaches you a truth that changes everything. You're not fragile, you're adaptable, your body can learn safety again. So I do want to take a note here on the body keeps the score. I know a lot of people have been hearing that. While renowned trauma expert Bessel van der Kolk has influenced the field of trauma research and how this is applied to therapy in tremendously groundbreaking ways that have catapulted really the way the body keeps the score, I wanted to add a disclaimer here that this information is not absolute. The body does not hold a scoreboard of winning and losing experiences. It's more like it holds responses to the losses or the losses as severe directives to fight, flight, freeze, or fawn. I took a risk here because we're facing fear. In this post, I embedded a song I wrote that describes this. I emphasize this method of creatively describing a body holding trauma because as much as we research, this can hold the masculine energy of healing trauma. And as a society, we tend to explain it well with this energy, but lack methods to attune, not to how it is held scientifically, but how it feels in life when trauma held in the body hold back some music in our souls. In sharing this, I exercise my fear of claiming myself to be a songwriter, an expert in trauma in my own right, and someone trying to boldly indicate the phases of healing or yours to co-create with the material I provide as an invitation, but not a prescription on how to heal. In your free subscription here, you will find paid subscriptive ways to self-invest. The body knows. Take your time. I hope you listen to the song I created. The body knows. But let's move on to tapping, EFT, emotional freedom technique. And I give you a EFT tapping for healing the fear of scratches. I'm going to share a gentle phase-aware tapping script you can use or share with clients if you're a therapist, share with your therapist if you're using that tool, or share in any way that fits your life. Each script follows the emotional freedom technique structure and honors the trauma-informed principles of choice. So the karate chop point is where it starts on the side of the hand where you would karate chop, you begin tapping. Even though I feel like I must stay perfectly safe, I deeply honor the part of me who learned this. And then we move to between the ring and the pinky finger, tapping, I'm spiritually strong, whole, and capable to face this. And we move to the inner eyebrow, this pressure to stay perfectly safe. Outside of the eye, this fear of getting scratched. Under the eye, this need to appear okay. Under the nose, it makes sense I learned this. The chin, I honor how hard I've worked to survive. The collarbone, I don't have to be this kind of safe. Under the arm, I'm spiritually strong, whole, and capable to face this. And top of the head, I'm learning a new way. You can look at the show notes and repeat this on your own. It really does deserve your privacy, and this is just for your classroom of understanding. You can also pause, rewind, and repeat that if you'd like to just practice it right now while you're fresh with the learning. But bringing it all together, guys, why to consider a 3-day healing intensive? When patterns have guided our lives for years, it can feel overwhelming to imagine where to even begin. Healing can seem abstract, scattered, or endless, but when healing is organized into phases, when you can see where you are, why you're there, and what tools belong to that stage, everything becomes within your capacity to learn, exercise, and practice. This is exactly what the 3-day healing intensive is designed to offer: clarity, containment, and a structured path forward. Over the course of 3 days, you move through the phases of narrative healing, reprocessing healing, and relational healing with depth, direction, and professional guidance. The intensive does not replace long-term healing. It helps your nervous system know inner work is within your capacity. The choice of 3 is no coincidence. By the time you have repeated the structure of inner work of the intensive the third time, you will no longer be susceptible to the fear that creates stretching it out too much to create repatterning, where therapy often fails. Remember, in therapy, a you that likes to avoid change subconsciously arranges it and only can select times that are available, diverting healing journeys for convenience, despite it being a therapeutic hour. Therapy intensives accelerate understanding, clarify direction, and organize the work ahead, so you are no longer wondering, self-blaming, or trying to heal yourself with guesswork. You receive personalized support through 2.5 hours of coursework each day to understand the phases and your patterns, 1.5 hours of therapy each day to apply the tools to your personal story, 1 hour of coaching each day to integrate healing into relationships, career, health, and everyday life. And then, per your choice, at the end of the 3 days, a bonus half-day group session for reflection, shared wisdom, and expanded insight. And this is for your free decision after the 3 days is completed. The structure of the intensives allows you to see your healing in a way that makes sense. You leave not fixed, but informed, grounded, and empowered. You leave with a plan, a direction, and tools you understand, not tools that overwhelm you, but tools that feel like your own. Most importantly, you leave with the sense that healing is not something you have to earn, perfect, or chase, but something you are allowed to organize, inhabit, and grow into. This is the purpose of the toolbox approach. This is the intention of the 3-day healing intensive. And this is the beginning of returning to yourself, whole, imperfect, human, and finally unafraid of the scratches that shaped you. Arrange your discovery call with the link provided. Just as a note, this setup ensures the insurance-covered portions that follow the intensive, at least 2 sessions post the experience, are covered. So please have your information handy. If you want to send a direct message to arrange a call in a different way, please let me know your circumstances, and we can see if we can arrange something. I want to democratize mental health. I want to democratize access. So just please definitely let me know and message me. You know I'm always developing free content, so take your time with your decisions and stay here if you're not comfortable with the therapy intensive. Other stuff, there's a free poll. I'd love for you to just promote the cause and help spread the invitation to heal. You can always explore a less intensive option, and the polling site is just, for me to get information on where people are at. If this doesn't call to you just yet, your voice matters to me. Your healing matters to me. I want to hear you. I want to serve your journey and clear the path. Your answers are vital to this cause. Heal on, everyone. Heal on.